All right, we're looking at syllables to begin with. A syllable is a sequence of sounds with a single sonority peak. What's sonority? You may have come across this in your introductory linguistics, but if not, here's a quick summary. Sonority is a property of sounds that, among other things, gives us information about the syllable structure. So here's a sonority hierarchy. And if we go through the least sonorous sounds in any language are the plosives. Next up are fricatives. Nasals are more sonorous yet than approximants, and the most sonorous sounds are vowels. Now, there are differences within each of those categories. For example, voiced fricatives are more sonorous than voiceless ones, voiced plosives more sonorous than voiceless plosives. But this five-stage hierarchy here is going to be good enough for our purposes here. Um, now, syllable is composed of different parts. So let's have a look at those. We denote a syllable with this Greek lowercase sigma character. Um, the three main parts we're going to look at are the onset, nucleus, and coda. The nucleus consists of the sonority peak, right? A syllable has a sonority peak. It has the most sonorous sound in the sequence. Uh, the sonority peak is normally, but not always, a vowel. And by definition, every syllable has a nucleus. Now, the onset is all of the sounds in the syllable before the nucleus. Many languages require an onset. English isn't such a language. Uh, we have words like and under and so on that start with a vowel. But you will notice that English speakers often tend to add a glottal stop at the start of an utterance. You might say, Orville was going somewhere, and start with a glottal stop if it's at the beginning of an utterance. And this is probably connected to the cross-linguistic preference for syllables to have an onset. The coda is all of the sounds in the syllable after the nucleus. Unlike onsets, codas are actually prohibited in some languages, and that is, languages in general prefer to have an onset, and they actually prefer to lack a coda. Now, the nucleus and the coda together constitute the rhyme of the syllable. So when two words rhyme in the poetic sense, like boat and coat, or apply and deny, it's because the rhymes of their final syllables are identical. They have the same nucleus and the same coda, or they share the fact that maybe they both lack a coda. And then we say that the syllable itself consists of an optional onset followed by that mandatory rhyme. Okay. Now, any of these parts, the onset, the nucleus, or the coda, can be complex. So these are depicting here, we were depicting a simple onset, simple nucleus, simple coda, just one sound, but we can have multiple sounds in each one. A complex nucleus is a diphthong, or in some languages even a triphthong. And uh, languages have particular rules limiting what sequences, if any, are allowed in complex onsets and complex codas and complex nuclei. Now, the question of why syllables exist and what underlies that sonority hierarchy are fascinating, and they're not completely understood. And also, it's important to note that not all syllables strictly follow the pattern of a single sonority peak. If you want to explore an example of this in English, you could try the one syllable word splits. So if you go through and mark out how sonorous each of those sounds are, you'll notice that it doesn't have just one peak. Anyway, you now have the basics of syllables, which are definitely going to be useful when we talk about stress, tone, and other suprasegmental phenomena coming up.